Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Return to Play. I'm your host, Matt Judge, Assistant Director of Athletic Communications, and I'm joined here today by two sports student athlete, Kim Kockenmeister. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you for having me.
You're originally from Greenwich, Connecticut. How did you find out about Swarthmore College?
Initially, I found out about Swarthmore because I was on a recruiting website for soccer and basketball, and it said that someone had viewed my profile. And at this point, I had never heard of Swarthmore before, and I was only a sophomore, so I kind of was looking at any opportunities that came up. So I went to a soccer ID clinic at Swarthmore, and that's when I kind of first met the coaches and got a feel for the campus, and I instantly hated it. But then my junior year, I went back for a basketball ID clinic and I fell in love with the campus, even though I had already seen it before. So I think something changed between sophomore and junior year, but I started off early looking at Swarthmore and then I ended up loving it at the end.
Yeah, definitely looking at Swarthmore as a sophomore is completely different than looking at it as a junior because you're starting to figure out what you're looking for in a college a little bit more. So taking that second look definitely has helped you.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, last academic year, we didn't compete. You took a gap year. Can you tell us what you did during your gap year?
Yeah. So last summer, most internships, either they got cut or they shortened the time period. So I was fortunate enough that I still had my internship, but it was only for the month of July. And so I started off as a marketing intern for Kroll Bond Ratings. And after that month was up, they offered to extend me just for till the end of the summer. And at that point, I hadn't decided about whether I was going to take a gap year or not. So I said, sure. And I was just going to stay on till the end of the summer. But then in August, I decided that I was going to take a gap year. So I had reached out to my managers and asked if I could just work a little bit longer into the school year until I figured out what I wanted to do during my gap year. And then I was fortunate enough that they were able to extend me on a month-to-month basis. So I ended up working all the way until May 2021. Um, which was crazy. I worked there almost 11 months, but it was great because I was able to work in different areas. So I came in as a marketing intern, but I moved around and I got experience in the investor relations team and the issuer relations team. So I was doing work that really mattered. I was writing engagement letters that was being sent to the legal team, that was being sent to the clients. So I had a lot of responsibility during my gap year, which was amazing work experience.
And previously, you also mentioned that you took a certificate. Can you talk about what certificate you got and where you got it from?
Yeah. So my goal during the gap year was just to kind of try something new that I wouldn't normally have the opportunity to do. So I actually did a 6-month intensive program through UPenn, and I got my certificate in data visualization and analytics. So the program just focused on gaining technical programming skills and data analytics.
So you got real life experience while taking your gap year, which is definitely very helpful for you.
Yeah, my final project actually was awesome because I could tie in basketball. So it was open ended. And so basically, I did an analysis on the NBA where we looked at 4 different data sets ranging from players, teams, salaries, and statistics. And we looked to formulate different trends among the NBA. And so we specifically focused on 2017-2018 season. And so we looked to kind of figure out what repeated factors were among these successful NBA players. And so we did this by using Python, and we transformed the data and created tables. And then we were able to use a Flask. We used a Flask to create an API web application and continue with HTML, CSS, JavaScript to create these visualizations so that our end product was actually these charts where you could pick your y-axis, x-axis, pick the player you wanted to look at. And that way you can figure out what factors kind of played into these successful NBA players that you know about.
It's very interesting and definitely something that as us in communications, we look at stats all the time. And you, a student athlete, you look at your soccer stats, you look at your basketball stats day in and day out. So it's probably something nice that you looked to see from behind the scenes.
Yeah, it was an awesome project.
And like I mentioned, you're a two-sport student athlete. How did you train during the pandemic, whether it was the early on pandemic where everybody was supposed to stay at home How did you train, and what kind of ways did you get creative to be training?
Yeah. So early on in the pandemic, it was definitely hard. But I had to split time between soccer and basketball. So I would just train individually in my backyard for soccer. And then in my driveway, I have a hoop. So I would work on dribbling and shooting. But I was actually fortunate enough a little bit into my gap year, my gym opened up where I could train with my basketball trainer, and then my soccer trainer, his facility was also open. So I was able to get coaching throughout my gap year. And then later on, as more things opened up, I started training with teams and in addition to just individual work. But my main goal was to kind of work on things that I didn't normally have the opportunity or time to before, but also using my last seasons to kind of figure out what I wanted to improve on. But I think the most important thing, or the thing that I found most beneficial for me, was cross training, and that I had so much time on my hands that I could really try new things. So um, I tried, in years past, to get ready for your season, you have the lift, the running, and then your sports training, and that's pretty much all you focus on. So now that I had so much time, I was able to try different workouts, such as like megaformer Pilates, like things I would never have tried before if I was just focused on training for my season. And so I was able to work different muscle groups that I never even knew I had because I was so focused on the trainings that I was always doing. So I discovered new workouts that were really fun, but also I found beneficial for my main trainings like running and lifting, and in addition to my sports training.
So you definitely found, obviously you had the time to do it, but you definitely found new ways to challenge yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So in Division 3, it's common for a student athlete to play multiple sports. You are a little bit different. You play soccer in the fall, but then you also cross over into basketball. Can you explain how that is for you as a student athlete?
Yeah, it definitely is tough because I miss the most important part of the basketball season, the preseason, when everyone is kind of learning everything, all the plays, all the drills, and everyone's kind of getting a feel for each other and creating that team dynamic. So it's tough missing out on that. But I have a really great relationship with both the soccer and basketball coach. So we're able to kind of make the transition as easy as possible. And so for me, all I really focus on is the sport that I'm in that season. So if I'm in soccer season, all I'm focusing on is soccer. And when I'm in basketball season, all I'm focusing on is basketball, because for me, dividing time, it's hard to be excel in one when you're thinking about the other. So I try to just give my all attention, all my effort into the sport that I'm at in that season. And for me, and last season, I found that was very beneficial for me, because once I got into basketball season, it took me a little bit to get into the rhythm. But once I did, my team was there, they were ready to support me. And the basketball season's so long that even though I missed only a few games, like it really, I still had so much time ahead of me.
Hmm. Yeah. And so speaking of basketball season and soccer season, what is your favorite sports memory at Swarthmore so far?
Uh, for either sport.
Either sport, yes. Yeah.
Well, I guess for basketball, there's a few of them. I think most obvious, it was making it to the Centennial Conference tournament last year. And, for many reasons, but being able to go from the prior year only winning 3 games to last year or 2 years ago, where we made it to the conference tournament, that we did that in only a year. So it makes me very optimistic about what's coming in the future, and what we're capable of. But I feel like making it to the tournament is something, every team talks about. That's their end goal. And, we've always talked about it, but actually making it to the tournament was the most surreal feeling. And all you could really feel is, even though, we lost the first round, you just couldn't feel anything but happiness and proud of your teammates for training and getting to this point.
Yeah, it was definitely a big turnaround from the season prior to the last time we competed. And even in soccer, you went to the NCAA tournament, so it's a big step too.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to most in this upcoming academic year?
I think seeing my teammates, which sounds pretty basic, but with the pandemic this past year, I there's some people that I haven't seen since, March of 2020. And so just having that social interaction with people that I was with every single day for 5 hours of the day training, I'm excited to be with them and to form these relationships, meet the freshmen on the team, and kind of get back into training with them because I definitely miss all my teammates and friends.
Yes, it's definitely different. And I'm on campus right now and we're getting ready for the return to play. Kim, I thank you for joining me today and I wish you the best this academic year.
Thank you, and hopefully I get to see you soon.
Yeah.